Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Kurt Hulett with Let's Go Learn. Super excited to be here today. Today, what we're going to be doing is going over Let's Go Learn in our product offerings, what we do specifically in the special education arena. My background is special education. I'm a legal author as well as spent 10 plus years as a building principal. So have spent an awful lot of time engaged in everything from A to Z with special education. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to start off with a couple quick polling questions. We want to kind of see who's with us today, what your background is. Let me see here if we can get the poll questions here. All right, so if you want to take a second to answer those. Okay, see, Richard, can you share with me the results or where I would see those?
There you go. The results are on the screen now. 22% are special ed directors, 67% are special education teachers, and then we have 11% other. Okay, excellent. So a lot of teachers today. Well, that is absolutely fantastic because that is truly who we target to support in this process. And then I believe, did we have another question in there? And the next question has come up. What areas concern you the most? And you could go ahead and select multiple checkboxes.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Kurt, your mic cut out. For some reason, it got quiet.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, oh, that's good. That's better.
Okay, so am I looking at this right? We've got a lot of focus, want to learn about ability to provide specially designed instruction. Another major focus on legal compliance with FAPE during school closures. Another major part, concerns about progress monitoring. So we're going to be hitting all of those areas today, and also the ability to write quality IEPs. So very exciting. Let me just jump right into it, and we'll start talking about Let's Go Learn and what we do. So in a nutshell, what we do is a couple things. We provide diagnostic online reading assessments. This is really K-6, but because reading issues and deficits expand well beyond grades K-6, it goes into the middle and high school levels. We also have a diagnostic online and adaptive assessment in math. That is a K-9 assessment, but again, because deficits extend beyond 9th grade, we also use it quite often with K-12. And then what happens is really, really cool. Once we diagnose the needs of the child, we then link 60 personalized lesson plans to those kiddos' deficits. Now we have our own instruction, which is provided through Let's Go Learn. We also provide links to Khan Academy, so you can get videos very specific to the child's deficit. We also provide extensive professional development in the area of special education. For my visual learners, here's a graphic that kind of shows how it all works. So we have Dora, which is our online reading assessment, and then we have Adam, which is our math, K-7. We have pre-algebra, which we call DOMA, and DOMA as well is algebra. And what happens is we assess the kiddos, and then all of that data goes in to this magic place where it then configures all of the instruction. And if you look just below prescribed personalized learning, you'll see ELA Edge online courses and LGL Math Edge online courses. And so that's really how it all connects together. We first assess and diagnose the kiddos' needs, and then we link all of the instruction to that. Now, if you're a teacher and you want to do a small group instruction, you certainly can do that. We call it whiteboard, and you're able to use the instruction. You can select your own instruction. You can use the instruction that's provided in the system, but at any rate, you can provide it personalized and individualized based on our system, or you can use it for small group. So why Let's Go Learn? So a couple things to be aware of. We have on-demand professional development and product training that accommodates your very busy schedule. And with that, we have a training center. We have tons of short video clips. Recently, we trained up to 500 teachers in a large district. So we have the capacity to train folks rapidly, get them up to speed. It usually doesn't take more than 30 minutes to train somebody on the first level usage of our system. It is computer adaptive. And what does that mean? Computer adaptive means that it's going to start at the grade level where the child is at, and then it's going to keep moving based on how the kid answers to find the zone of proximal development. It's going to find their instructional point in that content area. So if the child's a 5th grader and they're struggling, it'll go down to 4th. If they're struggling with 4th grade content, it'll go down to 3rd, and so on and so forth until it finds where the child is ready to learn. Engaging curricular content for personalized learning. We have super engaging content with music and activity, drag and drop. It's very kinesthetic. So we have a lot of different components and multiple modals of learning that really stimulates the kiddos' brains, and that's also why we have such growth with the system. We have granular reporting that you, parents and students, can easily use to support your classroom initiatives. So when we look at that, what are we talking about? Well, we have narrative reporting. We have all of the data, especially in math and reading, obviously, but it goes into extensive detail about how the kiddo's performing. We have fully adaptive tests that accurately pinpoint student zone of proximal learning. So not only do we have the full diagnostic, but we also have bite-sized formative assessments that you can use for your annual goals and short-term benchmarks. We have real-time data for classroom groupings, IEPs, and blended learning. So as soon as you assess a kiddo, the data is immediately available and ready to support you in that instructional process. And Onawa, one of my colleagues, will be going into the system, and she's going to show you reporting on just how you can differentiate your kiddos' needs and how you can instructionally group them. Grade level scores that are meaningful and actionable by teachers, specialists, students, and parents. This is one of my favorites, grade equivalent scores. You can track them for 13 years on a vertical scale. So if it's K5, mid-level kindergarten year, it'll track them all the way up through grade 12th grade. Granular reports tied to standards and scope and sequence skills. As a former principal in Texas, performance on the STAR tests were extremely important to me. So the assessments and the instruction, they are aligned to state standards, and they provide reporting in those specific content areas. Prescriptive, automated, and teacher-directed intervention. Again, our instruction goes exactly where we've pinpointed their prescriptive needs. So the intervention piece is absolutely huge. So what are the big buckets or the problems that LGL fixes? So what I have found in my career as a practitioner, as I mentioned, I used Let's Go Learn as a principal. I found there were 3 main buckets that I used them. One was special education, 2 was RTI and benchmarking, and the 3rd was at-risk acceleration and supplemental instruction. And so with RTI, we fit tiers 1, tier 2, and tier 3, unlike a lot of products that will assess the needs and tell you there is a problem, which you probably already knew. It doesn't provide any instruction for tiers 2 and 3. Well, we take care of tiers 1, 2, and 3 fully with our system. And that was for kids that were already in that RTI model. Now, you also have kids that could be 2 to 3 grade levels below, are at risk and really need help, but they're not 504 nor are they special ed. Well, we do a great job of identifying their needs, the specific grade level, and then provide intervention for those kiddos. And I was able to accelerate kids in these situations very rapidly. Next is special education. So with special ed, as a principal, I had 2 major priority areas. One was just compliance. The school I was at needed a lot of support with compliance. We needed to write better PLAAFPs. We needed to have baselines handled within our goals that were identifiable and legitimate. We needed to be able to progress monitor those goals. And basically, this system provides you with all of the data to do all of that. It also helps you to write standards-based goals. Again, I mentioned tracking progress. You can assess the kiddos as often as you want with our new formative assessment and active pulse reporting. It is dynamic. We also have direct specialized direct instruction, which we can provide because we diagnose those needs first, then provide the instruction. Lastly is extended school year. We are working with a lot of schools right now to get them prepared for this summer. Because of the coronavirus, what we're finding is there's a greater need or there's a greater concern about regression. So what we're seeing is a real increase in ESY, and we are a perfect fit for ESY. So let's just look at a couple of the reports. This is one of our newer reports in special education. You'll notice up here in the top right-hand corner, you'll see some summary reports, and it tells us exactly where the kiddo is at just one quick snapshot. High frequency words, beginning of 3rd grade, word recognition, beginning of 2nd grade, phonics, midway through kinder, spelling, approaching the 2nd grade level, and then oral vocabulary at the top end of the 4th grade, and then comprehension is coming up on 3rd grade at the very top of 2nd grade there. So what we have here is what we want to look at. First of all, you can click on any one of these major areas, and so we looked at phonics, and we want to know the present level. So immediately what it tells us is that the present level is 0.5. However, this student is at the 5th grade. So one of the things we have to be able to do is identify their baseline, which is 0.5. And then we've also got to write it towards that 5th grade standard, which is why we give you the capacity to do both. Now, that's if you want to write the PLAAFP. And you'll notice down here a prescriptive profile. A lot of districts will take this profile that is basically a diagnostic PLAAFP, and they will copy and paste this into their IEP software. This provides you with all of the academic information you would ever need in the area of reading. We also provide the same thing in math. So next, let's say we're going to move to numbers and operations. Again, in the top right-hand corner, we have our summary data that we can put into our PLAAFP. We look at the numbers and operations, and what I want to know is what are the next skills this kiddo is going to be ready for in numbers and operations, and I want to write some goals. So remember, in numbers and operations up here, this kiddo is at 3.7, so at the top of the 3rd grade level. And then we come down here, and this is where we want to move this kiddo to. So it gives you all of these goals you could write in these specific areas under numbers and operations. You'll notice the grade levels are not always equivalent to the actual grade level the student is in. So it gives you the standard of the grade level they're performing at and what we'd be moving toward, as well as the actual current grade level. So this goes a long way to helping us when it comes to our goals. Next, I want to talk a little bit about progress monitoring. You'll notice here we have our main categories for reading, and this is kind of how it moves up and down to find the zone of proximal development. And you can tell it can be significantly different if it's phonics versus word recognition versus spelling versus vocabulary. And our approaches should be significantly different based on those needs. If we come down to math, we have 44 subtests. It's going to assess the children in each of those 44 areas. Now, with our progress monitoring, let's say place value is something that you want to write a goal on in progress monitor. Well, then we can progress monitor place value as often as you'd like. So here's some of my favorite reporting that I utilized when I was a principal. One of the reasons I loved it was because my teachers loved it. And what I came to realize is it was really empowering them. So a lot of times when we have just raw data, we have grade equivalents, even though they're fairly easy to understand, and they're on the far right-hand corner over here and going down the right side. You'll see here high frequency words is at 3.5. Word recognition is at 5.83, phonics is at 4.5, and so on. But you'll also notice up here it has how Nana reads, and it provides the narrative. And I used to have teachers who would read through all of this narrative at the actual IEP meetings, how Nana puts all of this together to make meaning. Again, it's breaking down the data for you and explaining it to you as an educator as well as to the parent. If we come down here a little further, it continues to tell us, again, how Nana puts it all together. But then we also have a reading profile. And this can also be used in the present level because it's going to tell you exactly how this child learns based on a profile based on her data. And again, it's going to go into more detail about how this child does with specific sounds, breaking down language. It's extremely powerful and extremely diagnostic. So next we're going to move on to just showing you a little bit about our EDGE lessons and kind of what it looks like. You'll see here the child has gotten to the 24th lesson, and as you go to each one and you get at least 75% proficiency, it then unlocks the next one. Well, what you have here, gang, is progress monitoring based on instruction. So here, if you have 95% or better, you're going to have that gold. Silver is going to be 85% or better, and bronze is going to be 75% or better. And again, this is a great form of progress monitoring against specially designed instruction. Here's another example of what progress monitoring looks like based on the lessons provided. So if you want to provide an administrator, a parent, a child, any information about how they're doing in response to direct instruction, this would let you know. And again, you'll see here gold, silver, and bronze, which indicates the proficiency level. We do have full service running reports. So for administrators, we can help you to run any level of reports that you would need, whether it's federal categories, disability categories, breaking down classes, breaking down schools. We have the capacity to report in a number of custom areas. What is LGL, ELA, EDGE? Well, grade levels, again, K through 6, but you got to remember, reading only goes up truly through grade 6, and then we provide it in 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And that's where that intervention comes in. As soon as they're diagnosed, they do get 60 lessons. Now, if you reassess them, let's say you assessed them in the fall and you got 60 lessons, and then you reassess them in the winter, you're going to get 60 new lessons. So it's really exciting. Math, LGL, Math EDGE. This is, again, grade level K9. You get 60 lessons, covers content from 5 math strands and 44 sub-skills. It's extremely powerful, accelerates children very rapidly. And basically what our research indicates is that if you provide 30 hours of instruction, you're going to see 0.75 to 1 year of full growth. What I recommend as a practitioner is that you provide at least 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week. So the kiddo gets in at least an hour a week. We have districts that do quite a bit more than that, and they see really rapid progress. But we're going to have you enter any questions you might have. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Ms. Onawa Biela, and she's going to go through the actual system and kind of show you what it looks like and how it works. Onawa, can I turn it over to you?
Yes, perfect. Kurt, thank you. I think you can make me presenter. Maybe I can make myself presenter. Oh, awesome. All right, how's my sound? Is it doing okay today? Welcome. We're so happy to have so many people here. And I'm excited to show you the best parts, really highlight a little bit more about what Dr. Hulett was explaining and how we really can meet the needs of special education teachers and then, of course, students. So what I'm going to do is actually show you the platform, just a little bit around, show you where those reports will be, and really dive into a little bit of the granularity of how detailed this data is. So it takes out all the guesswork. Immediately you know what your students need. You can target that a various number of ways, and so I'll show you within our system what that looks like. So when you log into Let's Go Learn, you land on the Home tab. We have a lot of resources built in here to support you. Some management tabs here at the top, but what I want to focus in on today are the last two. And scores and reports is just that. It's where you're going to find all the data. As soon as students have assessed, you will have access. So we're going to drop down and actually look at the reading assessment first. So that is the DORA assessment. I'm going to minimize the screen here a little bit. So when I scroll down here, I am going to see the most recent assessment data. You always have filtering options. You can create classes. There's all types of things to stay organized within Let's Go Learn. But as Dr. Hulett mentioned, it is criterion reference to grade level. So what you're seeing on the screen are grade level scores, and that's, again, really helpful in communicating with everyone involved in setting those plans. You have some functionality with making this really modular to look at the data you want to view. So you'll notice I can add in Lexile if I'd like to, or take that away. So you'll notice those columns here at the top. We have a great deal of teacher reports. So we really can dive down and see exactly how the students are doing in decoding. What were they able to show mastery of? What were they not able to show mastery of for individual students and groups of students, which is phenomenal. What I want to show you right now is actually two of my favorite reports. So let's look at this first report here. We're going to look at Luana. You'll notice I'm going to drop down here to reports. On the right-hand side are student individual reports. So you can see we have quite a few, starting from a one-page summary all the way into more detailed reports. The first one I want to show you here is on the far right, and that's the teacher report. You can include recommended activities, and you can print this with or without scores. So instead of downloading, I'm just going to actually view it. But I want to show you again, this is what Dr. Hulett showed in the presentation, just how quickly, immediately after they assess, you have this entire report. So I can see exactly how, Luana is reading words. Actually, I'm going to make this a slight bit bigger. I can see her instructional goal. Now, this is all based exactly on her assessment results. Check marks indicating she's on track. Of course, I see specific examples from her assessment. And again, I can read down until I see those priority areas marked with an X. And so now I can see, again, that grade level score, but again, I'm reading all this information for this student. It's just incredibly detailed and so helpful. You also have a parent version of this, and you can pick and choose and use different pieces of that for families. You'll notice here, we do give a reading profile. So students, based on their scores, will be placed in profiles within the Let's Go Learn system. And that really comes into play not only for the individual, right, and seeing that profile for this student, what she needs next, but also you can group students with the same profile. So we have a report with one click. I can view all of my students and see, wow, now I know exactly what resources I want to direct to them. Right now we're in a remote setting, but of course in the classroom as well. And then you can just see, here's all the detail as you scroll down. I'm going to see exact phonics principles and everything that I need for that student. All right, so I'm going to pop back over here. I'm on that main screen of Dora. I'm going to make two more stops here before we jump into the math. Let's look at that same student, and I want to show you because Dr. Hulett did mention this, one of our newest reports, and we've received so much feedback. What a time saver this is. All of this data was already in the Let's Go Learn system. Now you have it all in one report. So if you'll notice the very last report option, I like to call it the IEP tool, or special education report, of course. But you'll see now we're looking at the same student, Luana. I have all of her information here, the summary of her scores. You'll notice you can take that information quickly to your clipboard and use that in reporting. Now, we'll look at another example here. Let's see the strands. We can see the overarching strands here. Let's go ahead and look at reading comprehension. And if I want to find the next instructional skills, maybe I want to drop down to 2. I might like some of those descriptors here. And don't worry, we have videos and tip sheets for all of this. We really want to show you what it can do. And we have a lot of support built in as you're using these tools. But I'm going to select refresh. Now when I scroll down, again, I should make it a little bigger. You can see those instructional skills. As Dr. Hulett mentioned, the standard, right where they are, might not be the grade level standard that you're working toward, but you have all of that information there along with the descriptors included. As I scroll down, you'll notice there's that profile. So I have the profile of the student available for me there as well. And a really nice feature here at the very bottom, the EDGE scores. You can pull this in a different filter by score thresholds, whatever you'd like to do for date ranges, and you can actually copy that and have all of the data there showing their progress in the personalized learning path, which is EDGE. Okay, so we'll pop back here to our main screen. One more here I want to show you just how the data carries, how you're using this for progress monitoring. You're able to view this over time. The data stays with the student. So, even if they leave and come back and all of those different situations, or if there are multiple classes throughout the school year, that data stays with them. If you notice here, I'm going to hover over. This arrow says previous assessments. So if I want to look at this student and maybe for this school year, I might select the last 2, and I can display a gains chart. you can include multiple in here. And this was actually my favorite report as a teacher. I also use this program. And I mean, this is just super empowering to talk about. Now, something went down here, and that's a conversation too, but you're seeing some really great gains, and visually you can download that, print it, and of course use that, pull up the whole year's worth of gains, talk about that, and really celebrate, you know, those successes along the way. So you'll always have access to that throughout the program and all the assessments. Okay, we're going to jump over. Is there any other stop you want me to make on the DORA assessment, Dr. Hulett?
No. The only thing I was thinking is I know folks will have interest in the instruction, but I know you're going to get to that.
Yes. Yep, I'll just pop down to Adam. We'll look at the math. I'll show you a little bit around there, talk about the granularity, and that will move us right over to instruction. So the Adam assessment, again, is the foundational math. Again, when you land on this home page, you're going to see the most recent assessment data, same features, right? It's very modular. Here, though, you start getting into that real granularity in reading as well. We've got a lot of the similar reports in there. Because math is 44 subtests, there's a lot of data. You'll see here those scores, those overarching strands. I can quickly hover over and see if students are below grade level in any of those areas. Again, on the far right-hand side, individual reports. So same thing for Luana. If I wanted to pull down that IEP tool here, same thing, except now I can dive into all of those math strands, numbers and operations, view instructional skills, and I'll refresh that, and you have all of that data. So if she's working in place value, I can see her next instructional skills on that. Again, you also are going to have the gains chart. So we can look at our same student here, previous assessments. Let's see how he's doing overall in math from one test period to the next. And here I'm able to view those gains. Okay, so that also works for math. And math, you can actually view the gains by strand as well. All right, so a little bit here I want to show you just how specific it can get, and that really lends right into the EDGE program. So from here, notice here I'm at the top hovering over. These are the different strands that we can dive into. Numbers and operations, let's say we want to take a closer look into that. When I click on that strand, you will notice all of the subtests that fall under numbers and operations now open up, along with all the student scores, right? I have some overarching information if they're below grade level. I always have filtering capabilities and all types of things here just on this screen. But one tool that is just amazing, one of the top tools that I use and a lot of teachers that use the program do use, is the instructional placement tool. So if I select that, so let's say we're getting ready to do a unit on place value, or that's what I'm going to focus on this week, I can actually select that place value. What this does is opens up the scope and sequence of teaching place value. You'll read this really from the bottom up, right? Because you want to see as students are progressing through. So I'm going to scroll down. And here I have the first skill. Students will identify place value in 2-digit numbers. That's an end of first grade skill. I'm hovering over here to the right-hand side. And I have 2 students working in that area. So that would be my instructional group, right, for this. Or this is who I'm going to email and send them a specific lesson. As I scroll up, I have a really large group right here. Middle of 3rd grade, we're identifying thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s. Okay, so you can see how this falls into place here with all of my groups along every scope and sequence. So just think, every single strand, you can open up all the subtests, and with one click, you know exactly where your students are. And you know, we're having a lot of schools that are using for remote learning still using this tool even though we're not in the classroom, because they can assign custom lessons through our program to target that group of students, and you can see their progress. So while they have EDGE, right, they'll have their 60 personalized lessons assigned to them, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. But I do want to point out that you can assign them things above and beyond that as well, and that's our blended learning tool. So let's say I really want to work with these students to get them caught up. I can actually select all the students in that group, okay? So I'm going to be working with these 2 particular students, and I can select homework. Now you're going to see this button throughout the site. So you can do this as you're looking at any data, right? I'm looking in reading data, I might be on phonics, or a profile, anything I want to do, I can assign. You'll notice that pops me right over to instruction. Okay, so Edge 2.0, that's our personalized course. We do have a link to Khan that also aligns if that's something you'd like to use. But right now, I'm looking at assignments. This will allow you to create your own assignment using the curriculum from Let's Go Learn, from Khan, or even a custom URL, or a combination. So if you have, okay, I really know that place value lesson, I want them to view this video and maybe submit this Google survey at the end, you can do that. You can also preview all lessons here too. So as you do a quick search, and I'm targeting, place value basics, I can select preview here. Oh yeah, that's exactly the lesson I want. I'm going to drag that in for that group. Okay, and you can build your lesson this way. As I scroll down, I'm targeting these students, and I would select save. So the neat thing too is you can just do that for your whole class. So if you're getting ready to do a certain unit and you're like, oh, I want them to view this video, you can actually create a custom lesson for them and assign it, have this complete by Friday, and we're going to talk about it. So now that we're in instruction, we're going to take a look at what does Edge 2.0 on the teacher side. How do we manage that? What kind of information do we have as we're viewing students' progress through the program? So you'll probably notice there's tabs. So that's how you stay organized with each of those. We have support built into the site, so you're never on your own. We have videos and tip sheets and also some on-demand courses as well. When you land on the overview, you have some information about your students. But where you're going to spend most of your time once students are working is in your current course usage. So if I drop down to current course usage, you actually have to look at what content area. So let's say we're focusing on ELA right now, and I want to check in on my class, see how everyone's doing and how they're moving along. So this is where you're going to have that information on individual students, their usage. Here, what's a really nice thing that we have in these columns are lessons to grade level, average minutes per lesson, and based on that, how many hours they need to get to grade level. So now if you're setting specific goals, obviously we have Luana, she's 21 lessons, so it's in red, highlighting that. She has further to go. She's spending about 10 minutes per lesson, so based on that, we can set up different plans and goals. She might have a different one, of course, for math, and different students would have different needs. You can see here in the color from the lowest need to orange and then to red. So this is a really nice tool. You always have that ability to see their total lessons completed, total unique completed, their average score as they're progressing through, and they also receive certificates. So once they finish those, it's a nice way to keep encouraging them to continue, and they'll get their next path after they take another assessment. So it's a great deal of information we have, but it's also super easy to use because as the teacher, you don't have to, the lessons do go above and beyond. So if you'd like to create custom lessons, but the beauty of the EDGE program is the students really build their own autonomy. They see their 60 lesson path. They can see their scores as they're moving along. The teacher, you'll always be able to view that. Again, we have that class map. So if I want to see, a bird's eye view, how my students are moving through their personalized plan, I can do that. We also have some nice features in there too, like rankings, so you can, kind of highlight most gold badges, most lessons. We have some really creative ways that schools are using this tool, so that's always available to you as well. And then last stop here, we also have a whiteboard tool, and this is awesome. So what this will allow you to do, actually, if I pull this down, is search any of the lessons. You have access as the teacher to all of that content. So if you're getting ready to do a lesson, let's see, we're doing Math Edge, and maybe you teach upper grade, 7th or 8th grade, and you're thinking, wow, I need to, put that lesson together so I can present it. You can actually find it here, view it, and use that either on a whiteboard setting, in a small group, now with remote learning, a Zoom classroom, use the content, talk it through, and then students can work on their own, and of course have their own path as well. All right. So I'll pause there, and Dr. Hulett, did you want me to cover any other point on there before we move into maybe viewing a lesson?
No, I think that would be great. I would just also encourage folks online with us today, if you have any questions, I know Ona was going over an awful lot, please shoot your questions in. We're going to be doing Q&A here in a little bit, and feel free to ask.
Yes, perfect. Definitely. We're all in here, and I see some questions coming in already. It is a lot to cover. It's hard not to get excited of what this tool will give you, how it really becomes the center. Now you know all the resources that you might be using otherwise, but you have the data to support it and know exactly who needs what. It's just really, really cool when you see that, and really meaningful when you see your own student scores in there, of course, as well. Okay, so what I can do is actually, we can share a math lesson here.
Yes, it's finally time for some statistics. We can calculate statistics from the numbers in the data set, like the mean, median, and mode.
Mean, median, and mode. Mean, median, and mode.
How do you find the mean?
Add up the numbers in the data set. Divide the total by the number of items. The answer is the mean or average. Mean, median, and mode.
But how do you find the median?
Arrange the numbers in order from the lowest to the...
Okay, I'm going to pause here. And as you can see, it starts off with a really engaging song or lesson, or specific instructions teaching the lesson. It will go through about 5 to 7 minutes and then transition into the gaming format.
What is the mean of this set? That's it! Now, what is the median of this set? No! To compute the median, put the numbers in order and select the middle number.
Now you see what happened. I got the first one right, but I got the second question wrong. And it actually corrected me and showed me how to get the answer right. Then it's going to ask me to continue. When I get my second question wrong, it will bring down my accuracy, you'll notice, to 50%, and I won't get any points. Students need to keep working until they get 100 points and maintain 75% for a bronze medal, 90% for silver, and a 95 for a gold medal. Okay, so I'll pop back over here, and then I'll go ahead and pass it back over to you, Dr. Hulett, and we can maybe open it up for any questions, and I can start viewing those questions in the chat as well.
Very good. So Onawa, here's a good question that you might want to explain with your background from Ms. Metz here. Are there any reteaching lessons or review lessons included for students that have difficulty retaining skills or understanding and need things simplified?
That's a great question. They will be assigned according to their assessment results. So if, again, they retest and they still don't have that concept, they will be reassigned. You know, you'll see that lesson come up again. So that will filter in again to their path. As far as it reteaching, you'll notice that the path that it goes through is direct instruction, gives them opportunity to practice, gives them immediate feedback. So it's really built for retention and to really work through those parts that are tricky for them and that they can show that they understand it. Another feature too is they can pass a lesson with 75%, but it's encouraged that students go back and bring those lessons up to a silver or a gold. And so that can be something you do in your schedule and say maybe Friday, okay, let's go back to any lessons and work on those and bring them up. So it's that opportunity as well.
And you know, another piece I would just add is because we do the diagnostic assessment, the instruction is leveled for each child based on their specific competency level. So the instruction is very well met based on their needs and abilities. We had another question about extended school year. How does this apply to extended school year? It was essentially the question. And basically, with extended school year, we have to provide specially designed instruction to prevent regression, to prevent the kiddo from going backward. And what we are seeing nationally is an increase in at least the consideration of ESY, because what we have now potentially is, you know, a lot of missed instruction this spring which would then be compounded by the summer. So there are going to be some kids that may not have qualified in years past, but this year will qualify. And what we're able to do is we can train parents, we can train anybody in the home environment, although they don't really need training. They just need to get logged on with the kiddo. They can help and support those kiddos. But our instruction is self-paced. As Onola showed you all the information, it's going to give you time on task, proficiency, competency. So it's a really great tool for providing that SDI and for tracking their progress as well, which is always a challenge.
I have another question from an attendee. They're asking, for the specialized instruction that's automated, can a teacher edit the automated course that is generated by the system?
You want to take that, Onola?
Sure, yes, they can. So under the instruction tab, that's where you're going to do all the managing. You can always edit. So the teacher always has that ability. You can do that a couple of ways, but we'll look here under enroll edit. Once you've enrolled your student in the course, you'll notice that instead of the enroll button, you'll have edit available. So if we wanted to look at Bonnie here, I could select edit. I like viewing this too because it gives me a really clear understanding of the path that was assigned to the student. I can look at this in a grade view. You'll notice here with highlights, you can see her plan was built of quite a range, right? She had some spots in first grade to work on. If we move over to second grade, she had some additional second grade. You can see she was assigned because there's a check mark there, and that blue background means it was recommended. Now, if you're finding a student is really struggling with something and you want to work with them one-on-one, or you'd like to add something and say, gosh, you know what, they weren't assigned it on their path, but I want them to review it again. You always have that ability here. So if I wanted to remove money counting, I would just take that checkbox off, save changes. Now, when the student logs back in, that would be removed and they would just continue on their path. Same thing, you could also add something back if you thought, oh, well, I'd really like them to do that, and save changes. So you always can make modifications to a student path. Great question.
Oh, very good. Yeah, we had another question here for Richard, our CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Do you integrate with other data systems?
Sure. Because we have so much data, the whole system comes with a data warehouse, and so we can actually send data to other data systems. So that's not a problem. But you could also download it yourself at any point if you want to extract data or save graphs. You could download it as an administrator. And finally, we do integrate on the other side, on the SIS side. So if somebody has it's a large district and you have your own SIS you want us to integrate with to pull your students' information, we could do that, or we could integrate with Clever as well.
Excellent. Another question here that might be really good for Onola. How do you train parents/teachers during COVID-19? And I assume they mean remotely, since parents and teachers are at home. Obviously, we're not doing in-person training. Can you address that?
Yes, definitely. And we've done so many of these now. We're really working to what teachers are needing, what administrators are needing, as well as families. We're parents too. We're really thinking through that lens also and how we can best support families. We've created a new PD site. We have so much amazing support within our system, but we did actually create a custom PD site here. So I think you can see it here on my screen. With just that. So a remote learning kickstart, just quick bite-sized videos, how I jump off and get going with Let's Go Learn, all the information I would need for quickly getting started, and then also getting into more detail as you're using the program. And we're finding that this has been a really nice tool. On the left-hand side here, you also see parents getting started. And this has been really well received also. So a 1 to 2 minute video we also have in Spanish. So we can send those out along with the tip sheet, how to get going with Let's Go Learn. So we can just take that off their plate, that it's one more thing, and really the families start to see, oh my gosh, this has the lesson in there for them. It's targeted to exactly what they need, and they can have them work on that at their own pace. So we definitely have a lot of that as well as training. So we're doing a variety of models, meeting during different school department meetings, organizing our own webinars, and then of course ongoing teacher Q&A sessions as well.
Sounds like they're keeping you on your toes, Onola.
Yeah. Yes.
So another question that came in was discuss goal setting or let me do this one first. How does one progress monitor if they aren't with the kids? Great question. You know, when we're dealing with behavioral goals, we're often dealing with goals that have to be observed in a classroom setting. However, academics, although quite often they are done in the classroom, they do not have to be. And with online web-based programs, we can track their progress within the system, and then we get our reports. So all you have to do is make sure they're able to log in, they do their assignment, and then you have all the information you would need for progress monitoring. Another question that I'll take was discuss goal setting and PLAAFPs or present levels in more detail. So let me start with present levels. I know we have folks from different states, so present level of academic achievement and functional performance. And basically, one of the challenges is to provide concrete, valid, and reliable data relative to the student's performance. And that's what we provide, valid and reliable data. And we also provide the narrative that you can copy and paste into the actual PLAAFP statement. As far as progress monitoring, we have the ability, as Onoa showed you, to progress monitor. But the biggest piece I noticed with my own teachers was that we often didn't set a baseline that was based on data. So what we need to make sure of is, instead of saying every kid's going to pass or meet their goal at 70%, and either we don't set a baseline or we set one, say, at 40 or 50, well, we actually have to have data to support that baseline. And that's where we come in. When we assess the kiddos diagnostically, it always gives us a grade equivalent, and that is super easy to track over multiple grade levels. So I strongly recommend using the system to progress monitor kiddos for the goals, and then of course using the data in the PLAAFPs. I think those are all the questions we have at this point. If you do have any questions, let me see if I can share my screen back. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. Oh, there we go. And basically, let's see, if you have any questions, please reach out to me directly. We would love to help you guys out in any way, shape, or form that we can. Again, you can email me, you can call me, but please reach out. I love talking special ed at any time of day, so give me a call. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and thank you for attending.
Thank you so much, everyone.